Hello my lovelies and welcome back to my channel. Today is day 4 of our Sincerely Jen Tribbiani Sew Along. Today we'll be adding the side panels and we'll create the shape of the bag. So it will look kind of like a bag with no bottom at the end of today. We'll add the bottom tomorrow. So to start, I have the big piece that I worked on yesterday. And I also grabbed my 2 main side panels and the 2 lining side panels. So let's start by attaching the main side panels to these little ends here where the zipper is. And we're only going to be attaching main to main and lining to lining. Okay? So move your D-ring out of the way. Don't have your D-ring like this because it will snag in the, it will break the needle. So move it out of the way. And place your side panel like so. I like to work with the side panel on the table and the big piece out because you need to pull away the lining. So you won't be stitching through all the layers. You'll be stitching main to main and lining to lining with a 1/2 inch seam allowance. So what you want to do is make sure that you grab these lining pieces and you fold them out of the way. That's why I like to stitch from this side, because it's easier for me to see the lining. So I can pull it out of the way. Back stitch at the beginning and at the end. And again, keep the lining away. You will be sewing through the zipper, but not the lining. And this will also create your basically your zipper stop right now. Okay, and we're doing the exact same thing on the other side. Again, this is what it looks like. It's sewn main to main and the lining is away. So now flip on the other side. Okay, and grab your other lining piece, main piece, sorry. Pull your tab down. Press it, put it under, so the right sides together. And we're going to again stitch with a 1/2 inch seam allowance, moving the lining away, just like we did before. And we'll also be stitching through the zipper to create a zipper end, a zipper stop. Beautiful. Okay, so this is what it will look like on this side. Okay, now we're going to grab the lining and we're going to be sewing lining to lining, right sides together. And again, I'll work with it like so. This way I can move my panel away, because you want to sew just lining through lining. And I'm going to stitch with a slightly bigger seam allowance than 1/2 inch, maybe 5/8 of an inch, just to have my lining like really taut inside. And I'm moving my main panel away. You don't want to stitch through it. Okay, and because I'm using colorful thread, you can see very easily right now where I was stitching and where I was not. Okay, so your lining and main are not stitched together, and you can see here how your lining is stitched. Okay, we're going to repeat the exact same thing on the other side with your last lining piece. Okay, lining right side up, lining right side down, so this way the right sides together. Okay. And we'll stitch them down. Oops, that was fast. And make sure you back stitch at the beginning and at the end. That was a heavy foot on that pedal. Again, move your main away. Okay, so these are done. We're going to go ahead and top stitch right now this part, but we are going to top stitch just the main, not the lining. So move the lining away and top stitch just the main part. Oh, it says actually to top stitch through both layers. That's interesting. So for top stitching, we're going to move the lining away and we're going to top stitch just where the main part is. Okay, we're not top stitching through the lining, just through the main. I have the lining moved away and I'm top stitching with 1/8 of an inch away. So now to close that opening that we have on the lining, we're going to re-top stitch, but only where the zipper part is. And I'll show you in a second. So you're going to want to bring your lining piece as if you were to top stitch it all, like so, you know? But we're not. We're just going to top stitch right where the zipper is, and only there on top of the previous top stitching. So we're going to top stitch only here where the zipper is, and this will close that hole we have. So I'm going to do my best to top stitch on top of my top stitch that I just did. I'm not very good at that, but I'll do my best. So now this is what it will look like. So from the inside you can see it's just here, the top stitching, not here. Your main and lining are separate, okay? They still need to be separate. Okay, so let's do the same thing on the other side for top stitching. Move your lining away. So my lining is out of the way. I'm going to top stitch just the main right here, with making sure that the lining is away, with an 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. Oops. Okay. Keeping the lining away. All the way down. Okay. So now, just like we did before, we're going to bring the lining back on top here. And see, we have this opening here. I don't know how well you can see it on camera, but there's like a little open, like a hole here. So this is what we're closing with the top stitching. So we're gonna come and top stitch right only where the zipper is. Right there. That's it. So that just to close that opening we had on the other side. And the last steps for today, which is basically like 8 stitches, we're going to be putting together the sides. So again, this is what it looks like from the inside. See, top stitch just here. I purposely left pink thread in my machine so it's easy to see. Okay, and this is top stitch the whole way. Okay, so let's start with the lining right now. We're going to bring our butterfly in the lining, right sides together. So this lining piece with this lining piece, we're going to bring them like so, and we're going to be stitching with a little over 1/2 an inch seam allowance, so about 5/8 of an inch all the way. Move your main away, and remember we did those stitching lines the other day. We're going to sew right along them right now. And we'll be doing this 8 times. So I've pinned the sides, and making sure that the lining is away, we'll sew this with about 5/8 of an inch seam allowance. Back stitching at the beginning and at the end. And keeping the main away. So I'm just sewing through 2 layers of lining. Follow your stitching line that you marked yesterday or the day before we marked it. Okay, so this is what you're sewing. It's easier to see now that it's stitched. So lining to lining along that curved edge, and it starts from the fold here, where you put where you drew your seam allowances. So let's go on the other side and repeat it on the other side. Again, bring these 2 together like so. Fold. I don't know if you see the orange marking right here. It ends, there's a point right here. So where the point of my marking is, I just fold pinch and put a clip. And then all along the raw edge. Do a couple of clips. Okay, so we're going to stitch this down with an 5/8 of an inch seam allowance. Again, just lining to lining. And when you reach the point where you've made your marking, it's easier to keep your seam allowance constant because you'll just be following the markings that you've made. Okay. So 2 done. 2 to go with the lining. Let's keep continuing with the lining on the other side now. So this is one side done. You can see it's stitched. Okay, let's go ahead and work on the other side. Again, bring these 2 linings right sides together. Move the main away. Pin. I'm looking for my orange markings. Okay, and we're going to stitch. And again, when you reach the point where you have your markings, stitch along those markings. It is very helpful. Okay, last of the lining. Okay, right sides together. Right here where the marking is. And try not to catch your pocket when you're working with the back side here. Okay, and we're going to stitch all around here. Keep the pocket away. And the main. out of 8 stitches done. We need the 4 of the main right now. You might want to consider trimming some of the seam allowance from these edges so it doesn't create bulk. So right now I'll do 1 of the main and I'll do the rest off camera. So you'll basically be repeating the exact same thing but with the main fabric. So take your main, pull the lining away, take your main, and you're going to bring them right sides together like so. And here where you have your marking, you're going to bring your marking like this and pin the corner here. It's easier to see now the orange marking because it's on white interfacing. So you'll pin that and you'll stitch it with a 1/2 inch seam allowance. Again, main to main, no lining involved in these stitches right now. Okay, and then follow your marking when you get to the point where you've made your seam allowance markings. And you're going to be repeating this 3 more times. So this is what it looks like right now on one of the 4 corners. Okay, stitch like so. So again, repeat it for the remaining 3 sides. Cut your excess seam allowance just to reduce some bulk. And that's it for today. Snap a picture of your progress and post it in the day 4 photo comment of the Sew Along album. You'll find that in the Backstitch Backroom on Facebook. Links in the description of the video. And we'll be back here tomorrow to finish the Tribbiani bag. We'll add the bottom, we'll add the handles, and we'll enjoy our finished bag. And maybe draw some prizes in the evening. Alright, my lovelies, I'll see you back here tomorrow. Bye.